My name is Carlin Barasenko, and you're listening to the Actively Unwoke podcast. Find full archives of the podcast over on my Substack, which is Carlin, Karlyn.substack.com. And if you feel like supporting the work I'm doing for $8 a month or $80 a year, I would really appreciate it. I am 100% funded by you. I can't do this without your help. Well, the election is over. Donald Trump was the winner. It wasn't even an early night. It was a blowout. It wasn't even close. The Republicans are going to control the House. They're going to control the Senate. They got the trifecta. And, listen, I've been pretty public about the fact that I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I didn't vote for Kamala Harris either. I ended up doing a write-in vote out of protest. And the reason I didn't vote for Donald Trump is going to be further expounded upon in this podcast. But just because I didn't vote for Trump doesn't mean I don't like to see a Trump win. In my heart of hearts, I do like Trump. I want Trump to be successful. There were a lot of problems with the Trump campaign. There were a lot of talking points he used that I do not agree with and I could not bring myself to support. But I always said I was pretty sure he was going to win. And he did, and it's great. It's great news. It's really great news, and we should all celebrate that. And actually, in just the last day or so, Trump has put out a statement that he is going to push to make it so that men and women are the only recognized gender in the United States, which I think is an amazing gesture. Obviously, he's talked previously about defunding the Department of Education, which I also think would be great. I hope Trump does these things. I really do. I have concerns that he won't. And that really is the main reason I didn't end up voting for Trump for president, is that I am concerned that Trump believes he knows what the far left is and believes he knows how to fight it, but really has no idea. And in some respects, that's not Trump's fault. It is the fault of Trump's advisors, but Trump hired his advisors, and so it is what it is. He has to take responsibility for that. But listen, I think that in terms of fighting the left, which is what my primary goal is, what my primary focus is. I do not want to see the left get their Marxist cultural revolution in this country. That is why I spend so much time doing what I'm doing, trying to expose the left, show people what the left is doing, break it down in ways for people to understand it. I do not want the left to win. Certainly, with the election of Donald Trump over Kamala Harris, we have been given a slight reprieve. Not that the left is going to stop what they're doing. In fact, it's going to get worse, which I'm going to explain in this podcast. But we have been given a slight reprieve in that we might be able to put some policies and laws in place that will slow them down. And that's important. The last 4 years have been nothing but full steam ahead on all fronts with no defenses. And I'm not even talking about just the left controlling government. Not only have we had no defenses from the left, we've had no defenses from the right either. The right isn't doing anything to stop the left. If anything, the right is running cover for what the left is doing because they lie to people all the time about what the left is. I've heard Kamala Harris is a communist so many times it makes my head spin. If you think Kamala Harris is a communist, you have been lied to by people who want to take your money. And this is the deepest concern that I have. It's not even about Trump directly. It's that even though I think that Trump will be able to accomplish good and valuable things if he puts his mind to it, I do not believe that Trump is in a position to stop the far left. I don't believe he has the advisors to do it. I don't believe his advisors really know what's going on. I think his advisors are using bad news sources that are more conservative propaganda than they are hinged into reality of what's going on, which means they have no idea about the enemy that they're fighting, which means they can't effectively fight them. I also think Trump is going to be distracted by a million other priorities. And I also think the thing is that with Trump getting elected and Republicans controlling both the House and the Senate, I am predicting that the conservative right, normal people on the right, will convince themselves that they stopped wokeness, that wokeness is over, DEI is over. And that shows the lack of fundamental understanding that people on the conservative right have about what's going on. Because Trump winning does not mean wokeness is over. Trump winning does not mean DEI is over. Critical race theory is still taught in every school district in this country, including in those red states. In every single state that voted for Donald Trump on Tuesday, they are learning critical race theory and anti-racist education throughout many of their school subjects from the time they're in elementary school. Now, Trump does seem willing to fight gender ideology, and I think that that's really good. But the fact of the matter is the most dangerous part of gender ideology is not just physical surgeries on children or medicating children, although that's bad and that should be outlawed. That's not actually the most dangerous thing. The most dangerous thing is every single program in public schools that teaches kids that gender is non-binary, that there are more than two genders. This is why I said at the top of the podcast, I think that it's really great of Trump to speak up and say, we are going to make it so the United States only recognizes men and women. I think it's a really good step. The gender binary, men and women, needs to be protected at all costs to protect us from the left. If they get the gender binary, then we lose. The problem is the way the left is going about it is not what Trump is doing in passing a top-down law. The way the left is destroying the gender binary is by teaching it to kids in school when they are too young to defend themselves. Kids start learning this stuff from the time they're 5 years old. And so while I think abolishing the Department of Education is a really good step, it does not change what is going to be taught in schools. It just doesn't. All it does is send it back to the education back to the state level. And that doesn't even control what's being taught in schools most of the time. What is taught in schools is decided by the teachers in the classroom. Most of the time, school boards don't even have any control over the curriculum, except if you're in Vermont or Connecticut, your school board has no control over the curriculum at all. So all those people you guys elected to school board outside of Vermont and Connecticut, they really can't do anything to stop it. So how do we get gender ideology out of public school entirely? How do we ban it from public schools? How do we withhold all funding, not just federal funding, state funding too, for public schools that are teaching this garbage? I don't know if that's possible. I also know that with the political right being convinced that Democrats are the same as socialists and communists, what that's done is that it has allowed real socialists and real communists to operate almost completely unopposed in this country. And we're already seeing the result of that. Listen, the Democratic Party effectively got destroyed this week. Now, I left the left 5 years ago. I left the Democratic Party 5 years ago, and, I am now actually more right-wing than Donald Trump. So I think it's good news that the Democratic Party got effectively destroyed this week. But let's take a moment to consider what that means. The Democratic Party are not real communists and not real socialists. We know this because real communists and socialists hate the Democratic Party. They were protesting the Democrats all year. They were protesting the DNC. They were protesting Kamala Harris. They did presentation after presentation after presentation about how they were never going to vote for her. Just because the Democratic Party as a political institution got destroyed because they ran one of the worst presidential candidates in history, who replaced someone that was literally senile, that doesn't mean there has been a negative impact on the real radical revolutionary far left. It doesn't mean there's been a negative impact on the real socialists, the real communists. If anything, it's had the opposite effect. The real far left in America is energized. They're organized. They're literally already out there protesting. I already have 2 calls over the next 2 days that I'm going to be infiltrating on my YouTube channel for my Substack, where we're going inside post-election anti-Trump organizing calls. The real far left was protesting in Chicago just last night. They had mass protests. I think they were protesting in Philadelphia as well. And what was the response on Twitter they got from conservatives? Oh, who's funding them? Who printed their signs? Conservatives seem to think that printing a sign is both difficult or expensive, and that it's impossible for these leftist organizations to have a sign printed if they're not funded by some millionaire somewhere. No, conservatives. They're not funded by George Soros or Alex Soros or any Soros. They're mostly self-funded, and it's not that expensive to get a sign printed. It's also not that difficult. And that was the conservative opposition to the protest yesterday. Where did they get those sign printed? It's like, that's your opposition. They're organizing thousands of people. They were already ready to go. They were already planning on Trump winning. They all knew Trump was going to win. That's really why they had the signs ready to go. They knew Trump was going to win. I think most people knew Trump was going to win. And they're already out there organized and protesting, and they're just getting started. The problems that the real far left is going to cause are just getting started. And do you know what they're going to do in regards to the Democratic Party? They're going to radicalize as many people from that party as they can, particularly focusing on younger people. Because younger people, and especially if they haven't been tuned into alternative media sources, if they've been listening to like MSNBC, CNN, kind of like your mainstream media sources, younger people now are going to be where I was in 2016, which I remember what it was like when I woke up in 2016 and had it confirmed for me that Trump won. I was watching a lot of MSNBC at the time. I was really upset. I cried. I felt I had been lied to. I was really upset about it. Now, of course, now I'm fine. All's well that ends well. But the younger people waking up the other night, learning that Donald Trump had won decisively and like every swing state, and he won the popular vote and it wasn't even close. They're going to be going through the same kind of set of emotions that I was with the Democratic Party, with the media, with all this stuff. And guess who's going to be there to pick them up? It's going to be the radical far left. And they're going to say, you know what? The Democrats suck. That's why you lost. The Democrats suck. That's why we have fascist Trump, Hitler Trump, Nazi Trump, because the Democrats suck. We don't suck. We understand how much they suck. We hate them as much as you do. Come join us. And I'll tell you what, the real far left, they're more organized than the Democrats. They are better communicators than the Democrats. They're more exciting to be a part of than the Democrats. The radical far left is about to start growing and expanding and recruiting, and they're going to pick up everyone that feels betrayed by the Democratic Party that just lost to the grand fascist dictator Trump. I think we're about to see a shift in messaging on the far left, because for the last year plus, it has been all Palestine all the time. Almost every single presentation has been Palestine. I've been like, can't we just go back to some good old queer training? Because I can only watch so many presentations on Palestine, guys. I can't watch anymore. But no, they've been Palestine committed. But I think that that's about to change. And the reason I say that is I keep getting sent these organizing calls, the anti-Trump, anti-fascist organizing calls. I think we're about to see a revival of what happened in 2016. Because I think they're mostly sick of Palestine too, if I'm honest. Sometimes you just got to change it up. And I think we're about to see a shift in focus to anti-Trump, anti-fascism, going back to kind of the greatest hits of 8 years ago, and just playing them over and over again, because guess what? They worked 8 years ago, didn't they? Maybe we'll even see a revival of the Chaz in Seattle. I mean, I would go. If there was another Chaz that was created in Seattle, or another like similar thing where they take over several city blocks, I would crowdfund to go out and visit that and go undercover there. I really, really would. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. The biggest point of this podcast that I want people to know is that should we be celebrating that Trump won? Yes. It is a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's going to give us a little bit more wiggle room than we otherwise had, but I really don't want people to misunderstand, and I do want people to be realistic about what we're dealing with. Trump is not going to solve the problem of the radical far left. He's just not. And if you wait for him to do this, if you sit back and do nothing when he does this, or doesn't do it, rather, then your kids are the ones that are going to suffer for it, because the radical far left are going to use this epic defeat of the Democratic Party, which, by the way, again, they hate the Democratic Party. They say so all the time. So the real far left, the real socialists, the real communists, the real Marxists, the ones that have been denouncing Kamala Harris from the beginning, they are going to use every bit of this that they can to recruit more people to their cause. And they are energized, and they are focused, and they're already organizing while Kamala Harris fans are drinking a bottle of wine. The left is out there doing organizing calls, putting together protests. Yeah, they're printing their own signs that they're paying for with their own money. And they're actually excited. There are people all over Twitter saying, you know what, this is a good opportunity to radicalize everyone. The left is going to get more radicalized over the next 4 years. And if people just sit back and wait for Trump to solve the problem, or they convince themselves that we've stopped wokeness or we've stopped DEI, by the way, DEI is nothing but a low-level delivery mechanism for Marxism. It's like several steps down from things that actually matter. Even if you get rid of all DEI programs in the country, you're still not going to get rid of the actual far left. There's still going to be a problem. That's another topic for another day. But it is more important than ever that we take this seriously. I think that the real battle against the far left started the minute Trump won this election, because I think that this is going to be one of the greatest organizing moments that they've had in history. And I think they're going to use it to their advantage, and I think they're excited about it. I have posted them on Twitter saying we're glad that Kamala lost. They're thrilled with this outcome because they know they can use it. And it is incumbent upon everyone that does not want to see them win. Now we need to double down. Allow Trump to safeguard the things that he can in the federal government. But know that there is so much that Trump does not have control over. And there is so much that no matter how many branches of government they control, they will not be able to fix within a 4-year time span. And even more realistically than that, it's probably going to be more like 2 years. So this is a temporary reprieve. This is not the end of the battle. It's not the end of the war. It's a temporary reprieve. So what can you do? People ask me this all the time. Well, give us something to do, Carlin. Okay, here's the answer. You need to learn as much as possible about the far left. The real far left, not the nonsense that conservative influencers spew on Twitter for clicks and clout. The real far left. Learn as much as possible about who they are, what they believe, what their strategy is. I will show you using their own videos. Then I need you to learn how to explain the far left as simply and as clearly as you can. Because what we need to do is take what is a very complicated subject and make it easy for everyone to understand. And then I need you to use that knowledge to go out there and teach as many people as possible what's going on, starting with your friends and family, the people you have a good relationship with, because that's how this is going to get communicated. It is directly via people who believe that they have relationships, that the other person has their best interest at heart, that they don't mind listening to them. We are not going to deprogram the left. That's a fool's errand. You're talking about deprogramming someone from a cult that they don't want to be deprogrammed from, that they have been probably programmed into for most of their lives. We can't do that. That's not going to work. We cannot do our own long march through the institutions because it's too late for that. It's too late. The left won. The left controls the institutions. And they're not going to give them up easily, and we don't have the time for it before they start trying to overthrow the federal government. We just don't have the time. It's not there. What we can do is create a grassroots effort where as many people as possible understand what's going on. Because the moment that you understand what's going on, you understand the true far left. Again, this is not the nonsense that your conservative influencers have been spewing to you. Please stop listening to people who are lying to you. There are people who do a great job of covering the far left. Andy No does a great job of covering the far left. Stu Studio, he goes by the Stu Studio on Twitter. He does a great job of covering the far left. I think Trevor Loudon does a decent job, though I disagree with him on some things. I do not agree with him that Kamala Harris is a communist, but that is a different fight. He actually does more or less a pretty good job of covering the far left. And the reason I point you towards those 3 sources, and there are more as well, is that they use primary source evidence. Because what I need is for you to look at what the real far left is doing, not the interpretations of people like Charlie Kirk or Benny Johnson or Dan Bongino or anyone on Fox News, certainly not James Lindsay, because James Lindsay is lying about some Gnostic cult driven by Oprah that isn't even real. Pretty much no one at the Blaze gets it that I've seen. In fact, I can't think of a conservative commentator at any with a couple rare exceptions here and there. I can't think of any conservative commentator that I'd recommend, apart from the 3 that I said. If you really want to learn about the far left, or of course, my content is available, you can come to my almost daily live streams, Monday through Friday on YouTube at 5 p.m., Socialism Saturdays at 6 p.m. I do have, as of this recording, I have a vacation coming up next week, so if you're listening to this right after I post it, I will be on vacation next week. My streaming schedule is going to be all messed up, so but after that, I will be back at the regular schedule. My point is this, is that all the information that you need is out there to learn about the far left. But you have to learn. You cannot jump right into a tactic, because I have this problem all the time where I say to people, they ask me, what can we do, Carlin? And I say, you have to learn about the far left. And they go, no, what can we do? And I said, you have to learn about the far left. They go, no, Carlin, what can we do? After we learn, what can we do? And I say, I'm not giving you anything to do until you learn about what they're saying and doing. Because guys, if you refuse to sit down and learn, and this is like learning a foreign language, this does not happen in an hour, it does not happen in 2 hours, it does not even happen in a week. For most people, it takes several months to learn as much as they can to start understanding the language of the left because you are very literally learning a foreign language. There is no shortcut to this. There is no quick fix to this. I'm working on a book to try to make it easier. I'm working on a training program to try and make it easier. But you have to commit to learning as much as you can. And guess what? You never have to trust me and what I say, because for every single thing that I tell you about the far left, I will show you primary source video of the left saying it for themselves so that you can hear what it sounds like when it comes out of their mouth. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be learning about what the left is doing. We need to learn how to explain it simply and clearly and concisely. I can teach you that too. And then we all need to go out and teach as many people as possible. I am doing this to teach you so that you can go and teach other people. And the more people that do this, the bigger grassroots movement we have of people who are inoculated from the bullshit of the far left. That is what people need to do. And I know that you guys don't like the answer of you need to sit down and learn, but it is the only answer that matters. And if you are unwilling to do that, then you will lose and your children will suffer, and there's nothing that I can do to help you. Because you wanted to jump right to a tactic when you didn't bother to understand the enemy that you're fighting. I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm not trying to be to make you angry or anything like that by telling you that your conservative influencers have lied to you for years. I'm trying to tell you the truth of the matter as I see it after spending thousands of hours of my time watching these people, analyzing these people, tracking these people over the last 4 years. You're asking me what to do. This is what it is. Learn as much as possible. Learn how to explain it, and then go out and teach as many people as possible. And if you're not willing to do that, I have no other answer for you. I really don't. So I hope people show up. It's the dawn of a new day. Trump is going to be in power in a couple months. He's going to control all the branches of government. He's going to provide us with a little reprieve. And at the same time, the real far left is going to radicalize as many people that are disgruntled with the result as possible. We're going to see a lot more protests. We're probably going to see riots this summer. We're probably going to see a lot more civil unrest and disturbance. Get ready for it if you live in a city. I'd recommend leaving the cities if I'm honest about it, but you know, you got to do what's best for you. And I'll be here, teaching as much as I can, via my Substack, carlin.substack.com, karlyn.substack.com, via my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@drcarlinb, via my Rumble channel, rumble.com/carlin. You can find me on x.com/drcarlinb. And if you guys feel like supporting the work I'm doing, sign up for a membership on Substack. I really do appreciate it. That's all I got for this time. We'll see you soon.